you all gentlemen for coming and taking time out of your busy schedules and for traveling to join us for this panel discussion. By way of brief introduction, I wanted to give each of the panelists an opportunity to say a few words before we start digging into some of these meatier topics. And with that, Nitin, why don't we start with you? A few words about who you are, the challenges you face, how they relate to the Japan New Product Innovation activities.
Okay, sure. 私はニティン・デイです。よろしくお願いします。私は昔大体30年前大阪に住んでたんです。でも大阪弁は全然わかりません。大阪弁はおかしいですね。儲かりばっかって何ですか？おちぼちでんな。Anyway, I lived in Japan for Mitsubishi. I worked at Mitsubishi Electric. I saw some people from Mitsubishi here. ホコテンで働いてたでしょ。ホコテンから来たんですか？My business experience in Japan started actually working in Japan. But in that time I was not handling business, I was more on the technology side. But when I started handling business side of things, one of the very, very critical things for me was I had learned Japanese and the Japanese mannerism and the culture. And in that, as you know, in Japan, there is no such thing as pure black or white. There is no such thing as no. So it was always very, for lack of better words, wishy-washy, very superficial, so to say. So when I was running business, I had responsibility to deliver numbers. And when you want to do that, you have to get a yes or a no from a Japanese person. That was the biggest challenge. So I'll tell you a little bit more about how I achieved that and some anecdotes that were very interesting as the panel goes on.
Great. That's fantastic. Thank you, Nick. The second panelist we'll introduce will be Tom Dooley. Tom, as you know, was formerly the head of Alcon Labs in Japan. Have Tom briefly introduce yourself, a little bit about your experiences.
Yeah, thank you. I will say, after I listened to the introductions, I fully recognize that I am the least tech person in this room, so I do apologize for that. What I hope that I can maybe share with this group is not by any means a Japanese expert, because as I look at this room, clearly expertise is out there, it's not sitting on this side of this table. But what I hope that I can share is a little bit of a pragmatist's experience in going to Japan, not fully understanding at all what I was doing, nor what I was getting myself into. And the process that I went through in order to try to learn and to try to listen and to try to be successful. And I think at the end of my 7-year assignment, I was able to take a company that had been established in Japan for 30 years. And we were doing okay. And then we went through about a 15-year period where kind of our innovation and kind of suffered a little bit. And our management got a little lazy and complacent, and our costs went up, and our profits went down, and our sales went down. And my mission was really to turn that around. So I took a company that had not been kind of doing stellar, as we graded ourselves on a worldwide basis, and turned it into a life science company in both pharmaceuticals, medical devices, and consumer products. And we were growing in the high, or the low single digits, the low double digits by the time my experience was finished. So that's really what I hope that I can kind of share today, is a little bit of a feet on the street from an American going in to an organization where we only had 3 native English speakers out of 1,300 employees. And that process of trying to work with that organization to make it more successful.
Terrific. Thank you, Tom. And then our third panelist is Aichi Kobayashi, who I shall refer to as H.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming as well.
You're welcome. So I'm H from JSR Microelectronics, which is a Japanese chemical manufacturing company. I spent 27 years with JSR Corporation, and fortunately or unfortunately, I've been engaged in entrepreneurial activities for entire career, from R&D or corporate planning, business development, or as a president of startup subsidiaries. And I attempted to launch more than 30 new products or businesses, and I would say that 80% I have failed. So I can share my experience when it failed and when it was successful. And also, might be a bit weird for you, but I did global marketing and found that Japan is one of the most difficult companies to penetrate into for new product, even for Japanese.
That's fantastic. Okay, so let's start in. I'm going to direct this first question to Nitin. Based on a terrific background, your experiences living and working in the U.S. side and the Japan side, having worked in product management and business development and engineering roles, how would you contrast how U.S. and Japanese companies approach this challenge of launching and scaling innovations?
Yeah, so this actually goes to the culture of Japan versus US. US inherently, this is not something that I'm inventing here, probably verbalizing it. US inherently is risk takers. Finding the first customer to use your product is fairly easy in the US. In Japan, one of the things that I experienced is that nobody wants to be the first, but nobody wants to be the third either. So the trick is to find that balance and find, actually I hate to say this, but I kind of use the trick. I made one company feel like they are the second, while the other company also I made sure that they feel like they are the second. Whereas both of them were first, whoever went with my product. One of the other things that happens is that in Japan, a lot of the companies, you cannot say that, well, but this other company is using it, so why aren't you using it? It doesn't work that way. Just because that other company is using it, that doesn't mean it makes sense for me. That's the typical Japanese mentality. So then, we had to change our marketing strategy and our sales strategy to suit that particular mentality and just focus on, literally when we focused on Toshiba or NEC or Fujitsu or Mitsubishi, we literally focused only on them. We made sure that even when we were taking down notes, that nobody sees the other company's name on those notes. So we had to go down to that level of detail to make sure that the other company doesn't feel like they're being forced into this, but at the same time, they are on the front end of the innovation. In our case, one of the things that happened to me was I had a counterpart on the Japan side, and he was a Japanese person, a very well respected, kind of an aged person, so to say, very seasoned, and we were like good cop and bad cop. It helped really well. Miwa-san, his name was Miwa-san, and he always used to say, Nitin-san, you come here, you hit them, I massage. And it worked like a charm, because I used to be the business person coming from the headquarters, being friendly, speaking to them in Japanese a little bit, drinking beer with them and so on and so forth. But when it came to business issues, I would switch to English. And then Miwa-san would go in and talk in Japanese and kind of, get them, so to say, coax them to come to the table. I remember one time I was at Panasonic, and Okamoto-san, he was the general manager of that division. when we started discussing terms and conditions of our business, I switched to English. And he says, Nitin-san, I hate it when you speak English. Because when I speak English, it means business. I said, no, Okamoto-san, when we go to drink beer, I will switch to Japanese, don't worry. So that kind of a thing has to happen there is, first of all, in my opinion, the Japanese customer needs to feel like they are being treated as number one. They are not the first ones to try, but they are not the third ones to try either. So they are still on that forefront. Second thing is that there always has to be a counterpart to the US business person. Third thing that has to happen is that there should be a completely open line to the person in the headquarters, whoever is coming from headquarters. If there is a problem, that general manager or the manager or even the engineer has to feel very, very comfortable that they can pick up the phone and contact this person and the problem will be solved. That is like treating that particular customer, number one customer, as if you don't have any other customers, you have only that customer. So these kinds of things come into picture, and over the years, I don't think it has changed. And I don't think it is going to change over the next few years either.
No, those are very, very good observations, very, very helpful. I won't ask you what your number one karaoke song was before we went here. But my next question is for H. Particularly given that you've been in the role of an intrapreneur, someone who has had the charter to develop innovations within a large traditional organization. So given that the structures, the operating practices that you experience in large companies, what would you say are the ideal qualities for an intrapreneur, and what must Japanese companies do to ensure the success of these nail that stand up, get hammered down people?
Thank you. That's an interesting question. So people may say that an entrepreneur should have financial intelligence, technical expertise, or physical strength that endures 24/7 type workload. But in terms of the entrepreneur's quality, I usually say that it should be B&B quality. I'm not saying bed and breakfast. This B&B is a little different. B&B, this stands for blue quality and black quality. This metaphor might not be intuitive to some of you, so let me explain. Blue quality, color blue is the marine color, sky color, and planet Earth color. And it evokes the image of cleanliness, clearness, and goodwill. When you are trying to develop a new product, launch new businesses, or scale it up, you need lots of support from all the stakeholders. And when you are trying to accomplish something that is for the people, for the society, for the planet, then with goodwill, then all stakeholders will try to make best support for you, and which is more than what you can buy by monetary thing. So if you could correlate your target, your goal, your mission, or your objectives within that context, then you can get the best support from all the stakeholders. And in that sense, blue quality of entrepreneur can stimulate empathy of stakeholders and will eventually help you succeed the product launch. And the other one is color black. To me, black is kind of robustness, unbiased attribute, or silence, and deeply lost in thought, and those kind of stuff. So having goodwill, just having goodwill cannot sustain the new business development under this world of capitalism. You have to listen to the voices of the customers, you have to listen to the voices of stakeholders, need to observe it and maybe need to calibrate your assumptions and think deeply how you're going to succeed, how you will create a successful path forward. And you have to you will have to face with lots of unexpected problems during the scaling up processes when to go beyond the chasm and so forth. And you have to be robust enough not to tremble upon any occasion. And you have to create robust networks throughout your daily, ordinary missions. I would say that when I started GM Energy, people are stretched so thin. They are busy for everyday work, or for kind of developing something new, or for scaling up something to the unachieved area. Then you could be the only person who could see the future seriously, who could take 2 steps forward. And I would say that's the right timing. As Mike and Andrew said that, you might misposition yourself where in TMA model. You might think that you are in early stage, but you are already in tornado phase, or it could be later stage. And if you are failed in preparing in advance, then you would lose that growth opportunity. And that calmness, or that kind of cool head is coming from black quality of entrepreneur. So having both B and B qualities, I believe, will increase the success rate of entrepreneurs, and that's great qualities. And as for what companies can do to ensure the success, I would say maybe there are several things that typical Japanese company can do. First, I strongly believe that they should pick up B and B type leaders to take a lead of entrepreneur's activity. And secondly, it's well known that a Japanese corporation needs to delegate the decision-making authority largely to the leader to fasten the decision-making speed and to reduce the internal workload for the entrepreneurs. They should spend more time for external affairs, but they typically spend more time on internal reporting processes and approval processes, and that shouldn't happen. And thirdly, networking. Entrepreneurship will typically typically have lots of networks like himself, and that's part of the capability. However, still, if you think about company-wide, the company can provide with an entrepreneur even a better contact, better network, and that should be accessible to entrepreneurs. That's what company can support. And lastly, I would say, people usually say that commitment to the top executives. I would say that may not be the right word, but what I want to say is that when to come into the contractual thing, when you have to show kind of company commitment, not the entrepreneur's own commitment, it's always helpful that the president or CEO of the corporation will visit their partner together with the entrepreneur and show their sincerity, show the president's sincerity, and that will create a great trust and credibility, and eventually will support success of the scaling up procedure.
Yeah, those are really excellent insights. I will remember that. Blue and black, as opposed to when you do it wrong, you be black and blue, as in beaten up. Yes. Excellent insights. Okay, thank you. Tom, that challenge in going from Australia to Japan, having to scale up operations, for U.S. companies that are trying to gain adoption for successful new products, for innovations, what are the kind of speed bumps that U.S. companies, particularly leaders of U.S. companies coming to Japan, what do they need to address, deal with in order to be successful overall and successful in launching new products?
Okay. I think let me answer one of your other questions. My first karaoke song, I quickly learned that every Japanese knows the English version of Take Me Home Country Roads by John Denver. So that became my go-to song, so I didn't really have to sing, I just let the crowd sing. But I was never very good. I think for me, that's the heart of kind of my perspective and my experience there. And a few weeks ago when we had a conference call and we were talking about this session, and so I've been kind of thinking a little bit about how do I summarize it. And it really, for me, comes down to patience. And patience is not necessarily, I'm trying to think of what patience means in English and what patience means in Japanese. And it doesn't mean go slow. It just means communicate patiently and be patient. And I think I have like two examples that came to my mind when I was thinking of it is, so like a lot of expats that go to Japan on assignment, I had a little bit of the bully American and the ugly American, and I'm pretty smart and it's worked before and I'm going to kind of tell people how to do things. And it took me a few years to realize that this does not mean yes. So my learning curve was fairly slow for the first couple of years. I didn't have patience. I didn't really understand what it meant. And I sat down with a customer, a very big potential customer, and I'm giving my story and why he should sign up with us that day. And he said, okay, I understand. Let's keep this going, and in 2 or 3 or 4 years, I'll make a decision whether I want to give you some of my business. And I immediately look at my watch and I'm like, 3 or 4 years? Like I'm thinking 3 or 4 days before we come back for a final decision. So it didn't necessarily change my behavior. What it did is it changed my perspective of patience. And rather than building the relationship with this customer quarterly or biannually, I built my relationship with him on a little bit of a faster schedule. So I still met what he thought was going to be a 4-year relationship, but I did it in a time frame that met really what I needed for my bottom line. And I think the second example that I was thinking about was from an incentive system. We had about 800 or 850 salespeople in the country. And in every country that we did business with, we had an incentive, performance-based incentive system, primarily based on what the individual did. And again, the ugly American went in, I put together the plan, I presented it, and everybody in the room said, there's no way we're going to implement that. So I went on a process of having town hall meetings with 10 or 15 employees at a time, providing beer, because more things are said with alcohol than without, and basically listened over a couple of hour period why the team-based incentive was so core within the culture. And then based on my position and the fact that I was paying the beer bill, it was my prerogative to give them the other side of the argument as to why an individual-based performance system really, at the end of the day, is what we as a company culture believe holds people accountable. So it was an example of having the patience and the fortitude to go have 100 of these town hall meetings in very small settings, to listen and to be heard. So there's many different speed bumps that companies face, American companies that go over there, and I had a lot of friends that had success, and I had a lot of friends that had failure. And I think the failures could really be summarized as those that did not have the patience to learn and listen and understand that there is Japanese ways that things get done. And not everything has to be done the way that we were trained and instructed and directed to do it.
Thanks.
So that reminds me of a very funny situation. One time our CEO had gone with me to visit some Japanese customers. And we were making a proposal to a company. And I presented the proposal and numbers and things like that. And the general manager from the customer side, he immediately folded his hands and he started sucking his teeth and said, "Mutsukashi desu ne." And my CEO asked me, "Can you translate that? What does it mean?" I said, well, it just means that he thinks it is very difficult. So he jumped right away saying, "Oh, it's difficult, right? But it's not impossible. All right, let's talk more." I said, no, that doesn't mean.
Yes.
So I hear you. It's like translating into pure English versus actually understanding what it means. It's two different things.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Great. On a more somber note, if you will, thinking back to my own time in Japan, I was first there in 1988, and Japan was a juggernaut, incredible growth. And then we had the bursting of the Nikkei bubble in 1990. So we think about, since 1990, Japan has had tremendous success with the traditional model, with Kaizen principles, with shop floor decision making, team-based effort, very, very successful. And now, with all of these new innovations and technologies, there seems to be a real struggle in reigniting that incredible growth that seemed to exist pre-bubble. So H, if I could ask you about things like Kaizen culture, other issues that maybe help or inhibit new product innovation.
Thank you. JSR Group, of course, has Kaizen programs. But perhaps I can cite my example for JM Energy Corporation. JM Energy Corporation started in the year 2007. Of course, it didn't have Kaizen program at the beginning. And I decided to apply Kaizen business model for JM Energy just after having launched the first commercial project and scaled it up. Then what happened? Kaizen model enabled JM Energy to create a high quality standard, and it generated self-discipline of employees and teamwork of all the employees. However, what I found later on is that the second launch of second new innovative product got delayed for 1 year, and the third launch was delayed for 2 years behind the schedule. And I wondered why it happened, but I came up to a thought that this Kaizen business model affected to some extent or a lot. Employees' attitude or behavior got changed turned into reactive manner from proactive manner after having implemented Kaizen model. I believe that this is because the Kaizen model is based on a feedback system from on-site finding of each employee. Employee will see the fact in hand and think about how to improve that. But on the contrary, when you want to execute innovations, you have to be proactive for those things that you cannot see in hand right now. So changing from the proactive mode to the reactive mode was one of the programs that I experienced through the Kaizen project. And secondly, as you may know, that the Kaizen model needs to empower individuals, and it flattens the organizational power structure. And because of that, when organizations need to pivot the focus for something new, this will Kaizen model became the cause of the momentum of inertia. I would say that people are more focusing. People's interests are on daily improvement of incumbent process and incumbent product. They're interested in something new is a bit more blur, because if you implement Kaizen for employees, it's going to become easier to do the repetitive work. It's kind of routine work. You have something in hand, and you can think something to improve, and you can propose that, and you can commit to that. But to think about something new is like brain sweating activities, and people tends to escape away from that if you have other things to do through Kaizen model. So in short, I would say that the Kaizen model can be a handicap when to launch new product and scale it up.
Terrific, thank you. One more question for the group. Something that we heard from Scott McNeely a year ago. Scott McNeely is a former founder, CEO of Sun Microsystems, made a statement where he said, Japan should buy